Now, what do you think? Let us start with the infrastructure.
There is one thing is mentioned here, that he will bring change. And to me, I normally say these are promises. You're promising things to the people, actually to us, the stakeholders. And this has always been there. I believe even the previous, or even the sitting president made such promises. The one whom he answered, the previous, whatever, the previous president also made promises.
Right.
But you realize most of these promises, I think they are on paper. I don't know what assurance we are going to get. Like, look at my age. I've seen so many, heard of so many of those promises. Most of them have not been fulfilled. The other thing is working with the counties. Okay, probably the previous presidents had but then we not devolved our things.
Right.
If really, Mwachiro, Utani promise that you're going to work with the counties so that we start developing or even improving our very grassroots studies that are there, because that's where football is. I believe all footballers must have started somewhere.
Right.
Like, okay, where my colleague here in Voi, they have their stadium.
Right.
If you improve that stadium, the Voi stadium, you know how many players will be churned out of that stadium? We have others in Taveta, even probably Motata and Mundany. Right. If you improve those stadiums, apart from the main ones that are there, but the very interior, probably even where we have schools, teachers, if you improve those ones, definitely we will see some improvement in our way of. As we go up, players will have already been cooked, been prepared well.
Now, your point is, let us have the structure of maybe probably having football pitches starting from high school levels. You've been even primary level. You've been coaching for many years. You've coached so many teams across the country and here in Taita Taveta and Coastal region as well. We're having players coming from primary schools, competing to national levels, to East Africa level. We're having players coming from at the high school or secondary level, competing to national level, international level, that it may probably East Africa. Then we're having problems. When these players come out of school, we are not seeing them anywhere. All we see in the pitch is a very small percentage of that blood that has come from the talent from school. It's just new blood. Someone may be probably noticing that he has a football talent at that older age. Those are the people probably getting these opportunities. And maybe before I finish, even give us a way of, just tell us, how do we get these players getting managers and all that?
One, if I'll start by the national office. If, for example, they start coaching coaches, the very basics, at the very basic level. Then we have so many of those coaches, because you realize coaches who are coaching at the very low level, most of them have not been trained. So it's their own initiative. Whatever they're churning out is something that probably learned and even probably see from the tellings. But the very basics that are supposed to be instilled to our players.
Right.
Most players are not receiving that. You can even, if you, for example, you watch our KPL teams, some players, well, they lack so many things.
Right.
They lack. Now, to add on the same, why we are not seeing them being absorbed anywhere? We have very few teams that are able to. They depend on well-wishers. For how long shall we continue depending on those well-wishers? And of course, even right now, life is a bit difficult.
True. What's your opinion, Reverend?
First of all, I would like to agree with Mwachiro when he says that the interest number one to football should be the player.
Right.
Correct.
I think the Kenyan football currently has very little that is appealing to make someone make football his career or her career. I played football in the 1980s.
Right.
And later on I briefly joined Rivertex. But currently, what I can say, unless the players are motivated, unless the players see the brightness or see the future of the football career, which has a future, is I don't think a farmer can produce any fruits. Individuals who have got the opportunity to make the fruits from the tree are the ones who are having the fruits. So it is the exact opposite of whatever is supposed to be displayed. Another thing about infrastructure, like coaches who are trained, there is the issue of having referees who are exposed, who are trained, and then there is the future now. After a footballer completes his career, what next? You see, if we had something of honoring them, we have quite a number of players in Kenya today whom I played with. They played in the national team for very many years. Some of them are even better off in life, and they played high level football.
Maybe what can be the discouragement where we are seeing people, talent fresh from primary school, graduating to secondary school, even go as far as East Africa competition, then afterwards we are not seeing these people. What might be the discouragement? What is it in between there?
There is no serious structure to be seen by a footballer so that he can base his life on that career. If there's a serious structure of maybe taking someone from a tender age, after that maybe he may have a profession which he wants to undertake, but still football remains in his cause. He plays for teams where he's exposed. He is seen by outside teams, like the way we have very few now. People like Kina Wanyama and Kina Oliech who went outside, Kina Origi. These were seen, and after being seen, they were taken somewhere. Those things are missing now. They are missing. And also on the side of our players themselves, I am failing to see that seriousness and determination and the commitment. Because football, you have to practice. You must have the energy. You must have the psyche. If maybe you play a certain tournament, and that one tournament only you have played, you have put some coins in the pocket, and it destroys your whole career, then you're not serious about football. So even our players themselves, they have to be serious. We have players, I can mention one like Ochomo. He's our guy here in Voi. Ochomo has made it because he is a serious guy. He is passionate. He's energetic. He goes for what he wants to get. Our boys have to remove that shying away from pushing themselves towards whatever is going to be beneficial to them. Other than wasipotee katika starehe hizi za kishenzi, kukula nini mugukani, hayo wasaidii. Discipline. Kijana unajaribu kumwambia, unakuta anakuja juu na unaangalia labda haja kwenda mahali popote. So such things.
Ndio. Labda hebu tueleze hisia yako kuhusiana na ambaye anasema kuna hili swala la indiscipline ama nidhamu katika michezo. Labda unahisi vipi, kwa sababu ni swala ambalo limekuwa likipoteza wachezaji wengi.
Unaona, nimesema pale mwanzoni kama tunaweza kupata makoches because coaching is a profession. Na kwa sababu ni profession, lazima wewe coach umefundisha mambo ya discipline. Now you actually are the first person who instills discipline on your players. If you don't do it, for example, if you're not disciplined, how do you expect to churn out a player with discipline? That's a zero work. Now so we need to have coaches who have been trained to handle some of these. In fact, when I said I want to add on the same, we have so many players ambao wanasema legends. If for example we have those structures whereby any legend they are brought back to football to become coaches, they become our trainers, and then they start coaching like I believe Bwana Mwachiro, if you get this thing, if they are able to get the legends, those ones are trained, then they join with the secondary schools, primary schools, so that these legends handle primary school, whatever, players, and even secondary schools. We will have very good players in future because of the experience that.
All right, let us just hear from the Reverend as we go for break. Just briefly.
There's something I want to add on. The element of being God-fearing. I think the element of being God-fearing is paramount. We see in the big games where players, after scoring a goal, he dedicates that goal to Almighty God. If people have that attitude of God-fearing, definitely some of the petty things which tend to derail them from doing what they are supposed to do will not take place. Because once one is God-fearing, you learn how to go to church, you learn how to respect elders,
right.
You learn how to be commitment and such like things. And also, I also want to say that if we have quality play, we shall have sponsors automatically.
Correct.
People will give in. Yeah. The fan base is going to expand. I remember during our time, we used to play to packed stadia. Today, even before Corona, teams were playing in an almost empty stadium, because people have lost interest. Yeah. So there's a lot to be done, which as Mwachiro comes in by God's grace, if he wins the race, then he has a task ahead of him.
All right, thank you very much. That was Reverend Mwanjulu, who is a football stakeholder here in Taita Taveta, and as you heard, he was one of the footballers who had played with several football players across the world who have made it from Taita Taveta and also Kenya.